All right, hello everyone. I'm Brian Hemmer with Unity Projects here with the main man, the founder of Unity Projects, Len Murray. How you doing?
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. Excited to talk about Unity Projects and kind of our big vision for everything. So I guess we can just start. What is Unity Projects, Len? What?
Oh, oh boy. I was afraid you were going to ask me that.
Uh-huh.
Well, the long-term vision is to provide a model for the future. In a nutshell, that's how I look at it. Um, the important aspects of the of any community, tech, energy, sustainability, consciousness, health. I want to provide a facility that could be, or aspects of it could be copied one day, where all of these different directions are further developed. Some of them could be commercialized. Yeah, a community for the future.
Hmm.
That's the elevator pitch, I suppose you would say.
Yeah. So incorporating lots of different topics or verticals, if you will. You mentioned sustainability, agriculture, and we'll dive into some of the specific projects here. But this is all encompassing, right? You kind of envision it as a place where we can explore technology, or we can explore agriculture, health, even education. I've heard you talk a lot about maybe rethinking, redoing, even reinventing the educational system as a big effort for what we experience today is an outdated system, I believe, a system that's been in place a long time, and we go to school to learn about things, but not necessarily learn how to think, right?
Oh yeah, that's oh yeah. It's not only outdated, it's inefficient, it's incorrect. So, yeah, one, as you mentioned, a vertical, that's one way to think of it. One vertical at a time. I
Hmm.
think for me anyway, education might be the least amount I've spent on trying to develop that direction, although it's
Hmm.
questionably the most important.
Hmm.
But I have a lot of technical projects, energy related, agriculture, water tech. We call it water tech, where I have developed a way to naturally increase the electrical potential of water. So that has very important implications for agriculture, drinking water, desalination, hydrogen production,
Hmm.
energy devices, a new atomic structure, and a new periodic table of elements. So yeah, a lot of emphasis in the beginning on the technical side
Uh-huh.
toward sustainability, toward the future.
Yeah.
Toward the future. We're talking about new Earth here. Where is the Earth going in this Aquarian Age?
Yeah.
New Earth, some people call it, the move to the fifth dimension. So yeah, technical stuff.
Would you say
Uh,
these projects are like more or less aimed at facilitating the evolution of mankind and how we live on Earth currently?
yeah, I would say the move to the new Earth, for example, most folks, most spiritual folks, they're focusing on, of course, the consciousness aspect of that.
Hmm.
But what about the physical aspect? How does if the humanity or the ones that are interested are making this move, are they still burning fossil fuels?
Mm.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
one way to think of it. So absolutely not. That's not sustainable. So
Yeah.
the tech stuff, the new physics stuff goes hand in hand with the consciousness.
Yeah.
It's just part of it. It's kind of like saying metaphysics is merging with physics.
Yeah. Yeah. If we're going to upgrade our consciousness, then that means we also have to upgrade how we
live.
interact with the physical world, because we're still here on planet Earth, right? In this physical
Got to have
existence. So
energy.
yeah,
Got to have energy. Got to have electricity. Got to have true sustainability.
yeah,
So
very
I'm
cool.
trying to do both, but the bulk of the work I've been doing is leaning it is weighted toward the physics side, but in the past few years it's becoming balanced on the consciousness side as well.
Hmm. Yeah. So where did this all start for you? Like where did this idea come about? And I guess take us through a little bit of, because we have all these different projects. Like where did it truly start for you? And is there a project in particular? Or maybe you can talk about your background a little bit on how this all came to fruition for you.
Oh, I was going to ask you if that's really what you are asking. The backstory? You want to hear about the
Yeah, yeah,
backstory?
even just a little bit, but I'm just curious, and especially for whoever's watching this, how this idea came about, and what project kind of spurred a lot of these other things, if there is one.
Well, no, I wouldn't say there is a project that spurred anything else.
Hmm.
It's more about the backstory that
Yeah.
I had, as you know, we've talked about it several times.
Hmm.
In 2005, I had a very powerful Kundalini experience, a Kundalini rising or a near-death experience, some people might say. I actually crossed over. I had a near death. I don't think it's near, by the way. I was full in.
Uh-huh. You were convinced you had actually died in
Oh
that
yeah. Oh,
experience? Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. It was not near. There was nothing near about it.
Yeah.
The only problem is I survived.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. I should take this a little more seriously, but it's been a long haul since then. But I did cross over in 2005. I crossed over dozens of times
Hmm.
on one Saturday afternoon. It was like a 9 hour episode of crossing over, coming back, crossing over, coming back. But it was so powerful. The energy running through me was like an amperage that I knew my body, my nervous system could not withstand very long. And sure
Hmm.
enough, every time that I felt that energy rising, I would die. And it was overwhelming and confusing, but beautiful and so on. But I won't get into that. There's so many people out there talking about their near-death experiences, and I don't want to be one of those
Yeah.
guys. But that's what triggered all of this.
Hmm.
All of this stuff we're talking about, unity projects and the future, building communities for the future, and all that stuff. That '05 experience was the activation for what people call downloads.
Hmm.
I've been receiving now since '05 downloads from from the dudes above, and it started with what I refer to as new physics. So the technical direction,
Hmm.
new atomic structure, a new periodic table of elements, over unity energy, stuff that has been done before, by the way. It's just
Hmm.
never been distributed.
Right. Like things that Nikola Tesla was working on, and
I would,
Schrodinger, who was, no, not
I,
sure,
Schauberger,
Schauberger, yeah.
Victor Schauberger. If anyone wants to look at him, he was, in my opinion, equal to Tesla in terms of his capacity. But Tesla was more of an engineer and an electrician or electronics uh, master.
Yeah.
Schauberger was more of a master of nature, water and air.
Hmm.
but same, very high capacity. And Schauberger also had built over Unity devices like
Hmm.
Tesla did. So, boy, um, yeah, I don't know. Well, I'll let you ask the questions.
Yeah, so you're receiving downloads of information. Um, and did you have a already, if I remember right, somewhat of a background in engineering or science, or not so much, and this was all fresh new information coming in?
Well, that's a good point. I would say no, I was not an engineer per se, or at least not trained. I certainly had that interest, physics, engineering, but just an interest,
Yeah.
But my background is software and builder,
Hmm.
construction. But I was told early on that had always been the plan, meaning it was important for me to not have some formal educational background because I would be altered,
Indoctrinated in the,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that knowledge would have actually blocked or hindered the downloads because this new physics stuff, it's all new concepts,
Yeah.
and the current information is so off base, it would have confused me a lot.
Yeah.
I was encouraged, whatever you do, don't study conventional physics.
Hmm.
Try to stay open and clear to the new stuff coming in. And that was hard for me. I wanted to study. I thought I thought I would go back to school, formally educated in either physics or, engineering or something, but it
Hmm.
was always like, no, 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 don't do that. Just stay healthy and keep receiving these downloads.
Yeah.
So I've been receiving the downloads, but I haven't stayed healthy.
Yeah, the because of the health issues that came with the experience. And uh what did you say, '08 or
Oh five,
'05? '05, okay.
oh
Yeah,
five, yeah.
you're dealing with massive headaches and physical pains that you're trying to manage while receiving all this information at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, it's been very difficult for all these years because of the '05 experience, and it just created tremendous sensitivities and pain, and some would say a misaligned third eye chakra,
Hmm.
which brings up all kinds of questions like how do you realign that? There's a lot of strange issues that I've been dealing with for 20
Hmm.
years now, and it goes up and down.
Hmm.
Sometimes it seems manageable, and so I get a little work done, and other times no, and so I have to just lay low until I can focus again. But
Yeah.
anyway, not too much to talk about my ill
Yeah.
health.
So Unity projects really came about um, after so many years of receiving all these downloads, or was it kind of immediate in these downloads you're receiving? Like, yeah, you're going to start this initiative with all this information, or it was like after X amount of years that you're like, I've got all this information now. What do we do with it?
Oh, yeah, okay. So it was not immediate.
Hmm.
It was I spent what, something like 7 or 8 years after '05 receiving all kinds of outlandish information in my mind, but I didn't know why. I didn't know what it was. Also, though, I was extremely sensitive and heightened awareness, and I didn't know anything about protection. I didn't know anything about the sensitivities, people, EMF, lights, diet. I mean, anyway. I had about 7 years of just going through this strange and painful process until 2012. I met an intuitive who started to help me. understand what's going on. And that was my introduction to the downloads. I wasn't even familiar with that term downloads
Oh, interesting.
uh, until then. It was a shocking um, introduction to all of this, but also it made it made sense.
Yeah.
It made sense. All of a sudden now I realized what was happening to me the previous 7 or 8 years. And not only that, but the knowledge or the information. I thought I was losing my mind, honestly.
I was gonna ask you if you felt during those 7 years that, or if you asked yourself like, "Am I crazy or is this stuff real?" And was there a process of like you would receive the information and then go about testing the validity of it, or how did that
No,
work?
not really, not in the beginning. And when I say the beginning, I'm talking about the first like almost 9 years.
Hmm.
I didn't know what to do. It was all the information was so abstract. I really didn't know what was up. I had these I had an intuitive knowledge, for example, of
Hmm.
gravity, or should I say anti-gravity, for example,
Hmm.
a completely different atomic structure, but there was no way to talk about that, to manifest it in any way. Uh, all, but I would have all these ideas about new types of energy devices, for example,
Hmm.
all stuff that I used to think about actually growing up, like black holes and time travel and crazy things like that,
Hmm.
dreaming the double, but it was too abstract until I met that intuitive.
Hmm.
That was 2012, but it took a little while. It took when I met her, like I said, I was shocked when this came up. She said her guides, her I don't want to name names right now.
Hmm.
Maybe
Yeah.
some other conversation. But there were some interesting people that wanted to work with me.
Hmm.
Interesting entities, I guess I would say.
Hmm.
And I was told that the downloads had started in '05, but now they're going to take a formal approach or form or something.
Hmm.
So so once I got through the shock of like, is this a joke or
Yeah.
what's going on? But I realized no, this is real. I was told just go home, go to sleep, try to be as relaxed as possible, and formally the downloads will begin. And sure enough, they did. When I say formal, though, I don't even know what I mean by that, but it was becoming more, or I should say, less abstract.
Uh-huh.
This is when I began to be able to go back to her. I would receive all this stuff now. It was so powerful. It was scary. It reminded me of the '05 experience where I thought I was going to cross over again because there was so much energy running through my nervous system. It wasn't quite that powerful, but almost. But anyway, the information, while I was in that high state of downloads, it's a very high state of mind, unlike waking or sleeping or even meditating. It's just a different state.
Hmm.
While I was in it, I thought for sure I was going to come out of it, write down blueprints for over unity energy device. It seemed like so clear.
Hmm.
Uh, but I had literally had my pen in hand, but I couldn't cross the
Hmm.
dimensions, so to speak. That's where the intuitive came in,
Hmm.
meaning I would have all these abstract chunks of knowledge, you might say, but I would start talking to the intuitive to get confirmation, and it was like chipping away at a sculpture, if that's
Yeah.
the right way to, piece by piece. But it's a lot of work, a lot of work. It took a couple of years of that just to go from the concept of a new atomic structure to having it written down or even being able to communicate in any way with somebody. It was a very laborious process. So it's the same for everything that's been happening ever since then. So to answer your question, it took a while. It took a while to get anything manifested or built.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mag
after having those that couple of years trying to parse through and chipping away, that's what really started the actual. Okay, now I can start testing this or start building actual devices. Taking this information and creating something in the physical.
yeah, the first was Magneto. We talked about Magneto a little bit, the Cymatics device designed to, well, Magneto is a series of devices,
Hmm.
1 through 4. So M1, we call it M1, M2, M3, and M4. M1 or Magneto 1 was the first one, Cymatics, designed to render the atomic structure visually through cymatics, visible
Hmm.
vibrations. So that was the first of all these downloads that I was able to like turn into something that we could build and show.
Yeah.
Um,
And that, real quick on Magneto, without getting too far down that rabbit hole, that was a device that allowed you to visually represent the energetics behind the creation of atoms and molecules. Is that
I don't know about the
almost accurate?
energetics.
Okay.
Sort of. We would use the energetics, if you want to use that term, in
Hmm.
order to visually display the atomic structure,
Mm.
a visual rendering. But the vibrational source, normally cymatics uses sound frequencies,
Hmm.
and usually they're audible, you know,
Yeah.
uh, under 20,000 hertz, but anyway, they usually sound is used for the vibrational source.
Yeah.
With Magneto, we're using high speed rotors, steel rotors that spin very quickly. They're modeled after the energetic structures of the atoms. So that is the vibrational source
Hmm.
for the cymatic device.
So it's
Go
giving
ahead.
you a better understanding of how the atoms are created and from a frequency energetic perspective, right? A better understanding of how we can work with these atoms and possibly even manipulate them. And we've talked in other recordings before about, like, if you think of alchemy, for example, how we can combine, you used iron and copper, is it, as the classic kind of example, how we could even, what do you call it, fuse those or work with those two elements together for electricity, for example.
Yeah, yes, that's all part of the plan. Everything you just said.
Yeah.
It's more it's an approach, it's a vibrational or a frequency approach, consonance and dissonance approach to matter, to all of atoms, to the
Yeah.
periodic table. You could
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
of Magneto as helping further develop the new periodic table, which I call the Ajax model, by the way. It will become a periodic table of frequencies,
Hmm.
and it will show. Magneto will help us show, yeah, the vibrational nature of the multi-dimensional scalar vibrations. That's how the dimensions are communicating with each other. Scalar vibrations.
Yeah.
So the energetic structures of the atoms that we're using as I'm using the steel rotors to mimic them, but
Yeah.
those are the scalar bridges between the dimensions, all vibrational, and so Magneto will help us, not, I don't want to say determine the frequency of an atom. That's not exactly the right way to say it, but it's more like It's close. It's like a new lexicon for the atoms, a frequency among other things like the mass
Yeah.
and the speed of these energetic structures.
Hmm.
Those things combined will give us, let's call it for now, a frequency
Yeah.
of every atom, and then we can turn that into consonance or dissonance. So yes, new materials, including, I believe, a copper and iron alloy, uh, could be created through Magneto.
Yeah.
Or another example would be water. Let's just say we want to dissociate hydrogen from oxygen. We want to
Hmm.
split the water molecule. The frequencies we learn from Magneto will let us do that with great efficiency. Today, if we try to do that, it's very expensive. A lot of electricity has to be put into doing that.
Yeah.
With Magneto, it should be a piece of cake. Just a very little input energy with the right frequency, and there you go. You
Yeah.
got hydrogen.
So bringing it back to kind of the sustainability conversation with water in particular, you just mentioned it. Right now, it takes a whole lot of energy for hydrogen production, for example. But with Magneto, we can make it very efficient and easy to do.
Very,
Not yeah.
yes, very little energy input
Yeah.
to get the same result, hydrogen.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, that's probably a good segue too into I wanted to touch on maybe a few of the other important projects and what you were receiving in downloads. I know water has been a huge topic, right, or basis of some of the downloads you've received, right? So if you could talk a little bit about the water-based projects or water tech.
Well, without getting into the process of vitalization,
Uh-huh.
uh, that's for another time. I have when I say I, by the way, I don't know if I really mean that. I was going to say I have developed
Yeah.
a way to increase the electrical potential of water, but it's really like I was shown, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Anyway,
That
I
was
was
that
shown
was part of the downloads, right? You were shown
part,
this way to vitalize water.
yeah, part of the downloads is how to increase the electrical potential of water. That's a big step. That's a very big, important thing to know how to do. Um, Although, of course, most people, most scientists, physicists, they will say this is ridiculous and it's not possible and so on. But aside from that, uh, yeah, the water we call it, I call it water tech, the water
Hmm.
technologies um, that could arise out of this ability to increase the electrical potential of water, which I call vitalized water.
Hmm.
Um, it can be measured, by the way. This can be measured as a higher voltage and a lower resistance.
Hmm.
Um, the implications go to agriculture. So vitalizers or vitalized water for all of agriculture, drinking water, so human health,
Hmm.
filtration and desalination, and hydrogen production. Hydrogen via electrolysis, uh, using vitalized water and then splitting the water molecule to get hydrogen. These four, those for now anyway, the
Yeah.
primarily those four directions, all four could be commercialized,
Yeah.
which we're
Yeah.
thinking about.
Yeah, and we have other videos. We've gone more in depth on vitalized water. What is it? How do you do it? But for purposes of this, really, you said agriculture. That's you've been able to increase biomass by orders of magnitude, substantially, biomass and nutrient density, right?
Yes.
Um, you mentioned desalination or filtration. We using the exclusion zone, which is separate topic, but you can, with vitalized water and the exclusion zone, that acts as a filter for all other particles. Like, for instance, if we wanted to turn seawater into drinking water, right? And then
Yes.
hydrogen production, potentially creating hydrogen for fuel, right? A hydrogen based engine, for example. And then, am I missing one
Drinking
other one?
drinking water,
Drinking water.
potable water.
Yeah.
We could be building vitalizers for agriculture, but also
Mhm.
for humans for drinking water.
Yeah. And with the vitalized water, for drinking water, we've again talked about this more in depth in other videos, but that's a direct result. Why it would be beneficial is the enhanced or increased electric potential that could enhance our own bioelectricity. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, if you touch on
Yes.
that just a little bit.
So,
And we
oh
I know
boy.
this will probably lead into a conversation around EMF, which is another big topic that you have some projects aimed at too, right? EMF mitigation
Yeah,
strategies and
I'm trying to figure out how to stay high level. You
yeah,
reel me in if you need to reel me in.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the drinking water, very, very important for human health, in particular for bioelectricity. I think it's safe to say no one, at least physicians or conventional science, they don't know the source of bioelectricity. I would say the primary source is water from inside of our bodies. And
Mhm.
further, it's the formation of this exclusion zone that we may or may not talk about on this video, but it's all about water and how water can transform from H2O to H3O2.
Mhm.
That's the exclusion zone, and it's a natural process. It's been happening since the Elohim built this planet.
Uh-huh.
But it's only recently discovered. So, so EMF comes along, and I'm talking about EMF is short for electromagnetic fields.
Mhm.
Most people in the science community consider that the entire electromagnetic spectrum, from radio all the way up to gamma,
Mhm.
they call that EMF. But
Mhm.
here I'm talking specifically about what the public thinks of EMF, and that's microwave. That's the wireless microwave frequency. That's
Mhm.
part of the electromagnetic spectrum. So, and this is fairly recent. In the 80s, I think the 80s was the first commercially available cell phones. So
Mhm.
not that long ago, but oh yeah, I don't want to get too far. I have done experiments that have shown microwave EMF reduces the voltage of water.
Mhm.
It extracts electricity from water, and you can measure that in a reduced voltage. And that's just getting more pervasive as EMF becomes more pervasive out in the world. Every generation, there's more. I think now every human being has, on average, two microwave transmitting devices, a tablet or a cell phone or two or something. I mean, not only that, but it's the intensity is increasing pretty much every year or so. 1G, now we're at 5G. So the whole world is pretty much surrounded in a microwave smog now,
Mhm.
and especially dense in urban areas. All of those frequencies are diminishing our body's ability to generate bioelectricity.
Mhm.
And that translates to me as ill health in all kinds of areas, usually due to inflammation. Inflammation is probably the some would say, the primary cause of ailments. That's if
Yeah.
you're only focusing on the physical. But in my mind, it's what's even more alarming is that bioelectricity is reducing our connection to spirit.
Yeah.
The chakra system has to send this energy into our physical nervous system, and once that energy from the etheric side is trying to push into our physical side, if there's not a sufficient enough bioelectricity, we're not hearing what our chakras are trying to tell us. We're disconnected from our pillar of light.
Hmm.
That's why the drinking water direction for water tech is so important. we
Hmm.
have to we have to block or mitigate some of this EMF frequencies, and there's various ways to do that, but including things like Faraday cage. You can surround your body or your building or house with some kind of metallic
Shield.
substance,
Yeah.
yeah, shield. But anyway, this is a different approach of drinking higher voltage water to mitigate the effects of EMF.
Yeah. And this is one project we're curious, or we would want more research and development, right, to see the effects of. I know you've been drinking vitalized water for a long time, and you know the benefits, but we just don't have enough data right now, and something we would want to
Oh yeah.
spend some time, money on researching to make a strong case that this is actually beneficial to enhancing our health, but also to connect it back to where we started earlier, the connection between the tech stuff, physical stuff, and the consciousness side of Unity
Yeah.
projects. It They go hand in hand, right? If we're increasing or enhancing our bioelectricity, it's enhancing our overall consciousness, and that's our state of mind, our being, how we feel throughout the day, right?
Oh yeah. There's no ascension with
Mm-hmm.
with no bioelectricity.
Mm-hmm.
There's no spiritual growth. In fact, it's the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
You've become a pet.
Mm-hmm.
It. Yeah. This is very important.
Yeah, fascinating. So we've got Magneto. We're talking about water tech. We've got the vitalizers. Did you want to go into any of the other water tech um, projects or devices as well? And I just want to keep it focused for this conversation on the main ones we're thinking about. I know, recently, just yesterday, we were talking about a generator, for example, that could be fueled by water, but using water as a form of fuel is one of the main directions within water tech, right?
Oh yeah. Very important. Yes. I would. Okay. So briefly, I would say right now, in regards to accessing hydrogen,
Hmm.
many people, if we're talking about water here, the hydrogen in water, many people use electrolysis.
Hmm.
And all that means is a positive and a negative electrode entered into a container of water. Some voltage is applied, and the water molecule splits. So you have hydrogen gas coming off the negative electrode and oxygen gas coming off the positive electrode.
Hmm.
So, yeah, if I perform the exact same experiments that I just described, but with vitalized water, I get about a 24% increase in hydrogen output.
Hmm.
And that's significant. But also, I am quite certain that that hydrogen output, could be significantly enhanced by a couple of other changes, which we don't have to get into right now. But what that would mean is um, all combustion motors, and we're talking a lot of motors out there, potentially could be running on hydrogen now, or let's call it water. They could be running, instead of filling your gas tank with diesel or gasoline, you could be filling with water now. So, yeah, that's a very important area to research and further develop. It's already shown, like I said, a significant increase, but I think that increase could be drastically improved by a couple of small changes.
Yeah.
So that's a massively important direction to further develop. But you might say almost equally important is the desalination direction,
Hmm.
because similar, well, not similar, but because of vitalized water now, this is impossible to do if the water is not vitalized. But if you can vitalize it, you can create this thing called an exclusion zone, and you can also create it in salt water, ocean water, only if the water is vitalized. But
Hmm.
if you can create an exclusion zone, whether it's sodium based, ocean water or not, that H3O2 area, that exclusion zone area is fresh water. And I've done it. I've done it with ocean water. And I've extracted just the fresh part of salt water, and I pull out fresh water from ocean water
Yeah.
with the only energy input is sunlight.
Huh.
That's it.
Crazy.
So yeah, so that's what I mean. This
Yeah.
direction is so important to further develop and scale. I've done it on a small scale, so now I've got designs to try to scale it up and make it commercializable. Of course, we need help with that. We need funding, but water scarcity, you know,
Hmm.
water. Oh my God, this is such an important direction. That's why I say it's arguably equally as important as having an engine that runs on water.
Yeah. Yeah, what's wild is that even though this may seem crazy, what's crazier to me is that we have water scarcity issues and our planet is 80% freaking water. Like how
Yeah.
did, that's crazy to me. How we haven't come up with a solution yet because if I understand right, the main problem is that process, desalination and hydrogen production is just too costly at this point. Like we don't, our technology isn't at the point where it makes that much sense to, there's too much energy input for the output.
Yep. Yep. And all the energy input comes from fossil fuels.
Hmm.
So not only is it a tremendous amount of energy to to get fresh drinking water from salt water, but while you're doing that, you're polluting, you know, you're using fossil fuels. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
So what I'm talking about here is sunlight is the input energy for the most part, for the most, not 100%, but because you do need some mechanical devices to actually extract the water, but the sunlight is doing the separation,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
That's the hard part. So it's I lost my thought. Sorry, I
And this
lost where I
is
was gonna
this
go.
is scalable, you mentioned. So even though you've done this and proved this and have data on a smaller scale, you could easily replicate this for giant vats of water, for instance,
I
right?
don't
Or
I don't know.
okay.
I think so. I think so, but that's what I mean. We need to prove the concept on a higher scale.
Yeah.
I have designs drawn up to do this. I can't say for sure they'll work. It needs to
Hmm.
be proven out,
Hmm.
but I do believe it will.
Yeah.
I do believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is massive, a huge hugely important, because I was just thinking about in Mexico, where my parents have a place down there. They're currently building a new desalination plant for the community, because it's, right up against the ocean, so they have easy access. But then I think about all the energy that's being put, manpower, fuel, for all the machines to actually build just to get the plant built, and then all the energy that's probably going to go into the plant itself to do this process. It's wild. It's wild to me. It's
I
mind blowing.
imagine this for a minute. One of my ideas would be to take a ship.
Hmm.
Uh, you don't have to build it; they're already built. Just take a fairly large ship that intakes a bunch of ocean water.
Yeah.
Um, the actual hull of the ship, think of it like cells in a battery.
Hmm.
So separated cells, positive and negative, for the
Hmm.
exclusion zone. So right there, you just create the exclusion zone in there. Sunlight. We need sunlight to do that. And right there in the ship, you just pump the fresh water right off the ship into the community. There's no facility per se that has to be built other than an existing barge or ship, or some kind of boat, a big boat.
Yeah, yeah,
It's I think it's very doable.
yeah. Cool. Well, I think we hit on the main projects. We talked about vitalizers, talked about filtration, hydrogen production, touched on Magneto. I don't know. Is there any other things within this larger umbrella, the bigger vision of Unity projects that you would want to touch on?
Well, there are a lot of other technical things, but maybe today is not the time.
Yeah, I would say for
To
anyone
help.
watching this, our website goes into more detail, lists each project
Yeah,
there, and please reach out if you are interested, want more information. But yeah, sorry to interrupt.
well, that's all right. I would, like you mentioned earlier, the verticals, the
Hmm.
primary aspects of any community: health, education. I don't know. I don't want to call it religion, so I'll say philosophy, or
Hmm.
perhaps spirituality, or perhaps just consciousness.
Hmm.
And of course, energy, tech, all these verticals. Um, the consciousness side is, for me, from as I mentioned earlier, in '05, all of these downloads began, but for the
Hmm.
first few years, it was strictly physics related, tech
Hmm.
related. Um, Over the years, it flipped, you could say, not 100%, but
Hmm.
I'll say 80, 90% of the downloads turned into consciousness related topics.
Hmm.
So that's been an emphasis, to say the least. It's under development, so it's less developed at this time than the technical direction. But I think soon, and I think with a couple of the right folks, the right people, both the physics and the metaphysics, we'll call it, or the consciousness side, will
Hmm.
even out, and all of it can start to be developed.
Yeah. Yeah, if you could give an example of, you said 80 to 90, or it's been a majority focus on the consciousness side. What has that been like for you, or what kind of information have you been receiving? I know we could spend probably another hour, several hours, many hours on this side of thing,
I'll
but briefly an example.
I guess the best way to answer that is to just talk a little bit about the Aquarian Age, the precession of the equinoxes, and
Yeah.
the Aquarian Age now. and the changing of the guard, you could say.
Yeah.
The Earth is moving away from the Piscean energies and belief systems, whatever, and moving into this new model. It's a completely new blueprint designed for for accelerated ascension for the people that are interested. That does not mean everyone, in the near future. What
Hmm.
the facility that I want to build, I think of it as the beginning of a lineage for the future, in particular to bring in these new concepts and new technologies for the Earth to move into the new Earth, the fifth dimension. So yeah, it's a whole new blueprint that's part of my downloads, and I'm not the only one. I'm sure of that.
Hmm.
There's several that are trying to piece together, um, how does this work? How does this become manifest? You know, so at a high level, I guess that would be my answer is
Yeah.
the high level blueprint for the future, for like concepts, consciousness, the old stuff, the old religions, the old
Yeah.
Piscean way, and even prior to that, that's not relevant anymore. That's not even available anymore. Those frequencies are shut off.
Hmm.
So you got to, but to tune in to the newer concepts, that's part of the mystery school stuff that
Right.
we're working on now.
Yeah.
Like, what specifically do you do now to resonate with this new direction, assuming someone really wants to ascend on planet Earth?
Yeah.
Because maybe they don't.
Yeah.
So then they go try to ascend somewhere else.
Yeah. So the Piscean age being the last, what is it, 2000 or so years.
Yes. The
Each stage or each what do I want to call it? Well, the Piscean, it's based on the horoscope calendar,
perce-
right?
precession of
Precession
the
of the
equinoxes.
Yeah. So last 2,000 years, we're in Pisces. We're moving now into Aquarius,
Yes.
but the Piscean age, we're moving out of, and you mentioned you used the term fifth dimension, moving into the fifth dimension, coinciding with this, where you could describe that as being more, well, unity,
Yes.
connection, cooperation, understanding, love, things like this versus competition, separation,
Ego.
yeah, ego. Yeah, so it's more connection or unified kind of consciousness, right?
Yes, I would say yes to all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to this age, the mode, the
Mm-hmm.
MO was
Mm-hmm.
avatars. And most of us, of course, are familiar with Buddha, Christ, maybe Padmasambhava, Muhammad. Those are the
All the main
Piscean.
figures of the top religions in the last several thousand years.
Yeah, that those are the Piscean, what they call avatars,
Yeah.
eighth dimensional beings that incarnate and try to insert new concepts,
Mm-hmm.
philosophical, of course, or religious, spiritual, let's say, but then it turns religious. The blueprint for the Aquarian Age is not to do it that way. No avatars. It's a distributed model of star seeds and light workers. So there is no,
Sovereignty is
yeah,
sovereignty we've used as a keyword in this
yes,
discussion, right?
that's probably the best word to use, perhaps, or so
Mm-hmm.
it's a distributed model, if that makes sense, a collective
Mm-hmm.
model, but yeah, but the difference is now the whole world is moving to the fifth. The Piscean age had nothing to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so all those avatars, I mean, no, great, good for them, but it wasn't about how do you ascend to the fifth dimension. let alone do it rapidly.
Hmm.
um, I mean, it certainly gave people something to think about for 2,000 years, and war about.
Hmm.
But all of that's over. The energy is turned off. And the people that don't feel that or get it, they're gonna struggle. Um, this is a whole new blueprint now, but it's all about literally moving from the fourth, which you could say is less than unified consciousness. It's still a karma-based, ego, ego-driven existence.
Fear-based, right?
Fear.
Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep. Moving from the fourth to the fifth. The fifth is the big cutoff where the bulk of the ego and selfish agendas
Yeah.
die away. And now you're
Mm.
moving truly to it's still the beginning phase, but it's now into unified consciousness from the fifth up.
Hmm.
It's all ascension from there. It's all
Yeah.
beauty. Well, I don't want to say it that way, but
It's got its own set of challenges, but it's very different from what we've experienced in the fourth dimension or the
yes,
previous stage of consciousness. If you,
yes.
I like to think about this in terms too for people that maybe don't resonate as much with some of these more metaphysical or spiritual concepts. If you look at it from an evolutionary, biological even perspective, like if you believe in evolution and our brains are evolving, like those primitive structures, if you will, come from more of they call it the reptilian kind of structures of the brain, the very early stages of the brain, the human brain, which is, yeah, it's all about survival. And I don't like to ego bash either because like that was very useful, right, for survival for the animal kingdom, for even humans, but now it's just we're reaching a stage where that's no longer useful, or it has a limit, I should say, to where we're evolving past that more primitive part of the brain to include more things like cooperation. Like I think even from an evolutionary perspective, it makes sense that if we were more about cooperation and unity and love, like that should support the growth and survival, if you will, or not even survival, thrival of everyone if we're all working together versus competing or feeling separate, right?
Well, yes, although I would say the bulk of currently, current human beings don't have that capacity.
Hmm. Still
So,
struggling with the old way, or still kind of locked in that
yeah,
neural
they have,
pattern, if you will.
yeah, the concept of unification, there's very little interest for most people alive on the planet right now.
Hmm.
So to me, it's when people use the word evolution, I tend to want to replace that with ascension
Hmm.
or the soul's evolution as opposed to the bodies or the brains or something.
Right.
But the soul for the bulk of humanity is still relatively immature.
Hmm.
They're still ascending through the fourth dimension.
Hmm.
So a lot of this stuff that we're talking about won't be appealing to many.
Hmm.
It's not like we're all ascending. It's like only the ones that have the capacity and the interest.
Hmm.
The ones that don't, whether it's conscious or subconscious, they just simply do not reincarnate here.
Hmm.
They go somewhere else where the
To
the
continue
frequency.
their journey, continue their evolution, whatever stage they're at, right?
Exactly, it has to match their resonance, their capacity.
Yeah.
Because if you try to force somebody to
Yeah.
resonate too high, you're going to blow some circuits. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd get into these kind of topics today.
Yeah.
Still being
Well,
recorded, right?
yeah. Well, this stuff really, I mean, this is for me personally, I just love these topics. It's just fascinating to
I gotta
look at.
tell you, so do I, and I've always been hesitant to talk about this stuff publicly.
Hmm.
So thank God for you. If you weren't pushing me a little bit here, this would never be, exposed. So it's very helpful, I think.
Well, you get a lot of credit too because you've helped me connect the dots from. I'm very interested in the tech physics, science side of things too, and I see how they work together. I'm seeing how they go hand in hand. Like you said, if we're going to interface with the world, well, we need to do it in better, more
Yeah.
efficient, ways.
Ev
So
Everything has to ascend, not just our concepts.
yeah,
Our use of energy, our understanding of nature and matter, it all has to evolve or ascend.
yeah,
So that's in a nutshell, I guess you could say that's my downloads. It's
yeah.
both. It's both the spiritual side and the technical or the physical side, but it's all just like more evolved stuff that has been done before. It just needs to be done again, but this time distributed, exposed to the
Hmm.
right people. It's going to be a bitch in the beginning, but like I said, it's a lineage, it's a process of several generations. Eventually, it'll stabilize, and this will become the norm.
Yeah,
But right now, it's the beginning stages where it's the front
yeah,
line. It's like Normandy or D-Day, it's
yeah,
a front line.
yeah, yeah. Well, got to start somewhere, and I guess it's
Yeah.
like what's the old adage? What's the best time to plant a tree? 30 years ago or right now? um, so yeah. Well, I'm honored to be on this journey with you, and excited to see where this goes in our lifetime, and to get this ball rolling for people and whoever wants to join with us, join forces, and yeah. So I think this is good for today. I think it's a good overview of all that we've got going on, and I
Yeah,
know we'll talk more.
I like it. I do like it. I have to say, I was a little apprehensive about talking about my backstory and talking about New Earth
Uh-huh.
and all this crazy stuff, but it's been with me for 20 years now. It's just never been out of me.
Yeah.
I feel like this is very helpful for me to just keep the energy moving out,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
other people can hear about it and see what they think about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think it's super important stuff that people need to know. And if anything,
Yeah,
I find it super interesting. So
yeah, we
I'm
got a
always
lot
happy to
of
have these chats.
we got a lot of good, interesting projects that I think a lot of people would resonate with this one and that one. There's a lot of room for
Yeah.
everybody that's really committed to this stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for pulling this information out of me.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for filling me in and sharing all this beautiful wisdom. So much appreciated.
There will be more.
Yes. Cool. Well, thanks, Len. And thanks for anyone who's listening or watching.